Welcome to What's Brewing in Admissions, a roundtable podcast answering all your questions. It's everything you need to know about college.
3, 2, 1.
To all of our podcasting friends, welcome to What's Brewing in Admissions. We have a very distinguished guest here on today. He's a friend of mine. He's an enemy to many people, but nevertheless, hey, let's cut. No,
Keep rolling. Facts is facts. Keep rolling.
We're having fun on today. We have Vice President Travis Harmon with us on today, and we just want to pick your brains, man, just get some knowledge from you. And I know our podcasting viewers, they're looking to get some answers from you as well. So you want to kick it off?
Yeah.
And we'll ask him several questions. We'll pass it around.
Well, I thought we could ask him, first off, this is Travis Harmon, and he is our Vice President of Student Services. And he kind of likes to say there's things everybody else gets to do, and then he does everything else. So, and that's a true statement for sure. But he works with us directly, and he helps us be successful, and that's our goal. But anyway, today we did on our very first episode, Travis, we talked about our why and why we work here and why we keep working here. And so I think the first thing I'd like to do is find out your why.
Well, I guess there's the practical reason and the philosophical reason. Actually, the way that it really works is my philosophical reason and maybe the God reason, but my reason why I'm here is because I know it sounds crazy. I tell people this every once in a while, but I really do believe in Jesus. I really believe in this stuff that we talk about, and I really do believe that there is God, and I really believe that Jesus Christ is his son. I really think he died for our sins. And I really do believe in the church. I think it's essential. If it was important enough for him to die for, I think it's important enough for us to care about. So really, kind of in the hierarchical way that it works, I think that if we help the church, Paul was persecuting the church, and that apparently, didn't sit well with the Lord. And so if we help the church, maybe
At least that's what it looks like.
in
Scripture.
Right. Yeah. So, hey, what if we looked at that passage and we turn that around, and what if instead of persecuting the church, what if we were a blessing to the church? And so, really, what I want to do, I know it sounds cliche and trite and naive, and maybe even a little silly, but really, what I do is I care about church, and I want the church to grow and prosper, and I think that's what's important. So on the philosophy side, I think that, that's where I'm at. And then maybe on, like I said, maybe the practical reason that I'm here, or I think the God reason I'm here, my dad, we lived in Paragould. I was born in Paragould, Arkansas. We lived in Arkansas. My dad had the best job at Monroe Shock Absorbers. He was the only guy that had a job that he worked in air conditioner. And then whatever it would have been, like 1980, he was working in the factory in an air-conditioned thing, running a computer that tested shock absorbers. And he grew up in church, fallen away, went to the military, enlisted during Vietnam, got sent to Germany to be a tank commander and test tanks and be a tank mechanic. And when he came back and started farming, working in the factory, and fell away from the church. And my mom, she was one of those moms that everybody's got that mom at the church that they get those 3 little terrible kids together and bring them to church. And my mom was doing that at Gainesville, Arkansas. And we had a preacher there named Edmund Cagle, who later in life, he started preaching just a few miles from here at where we're at now. Edmund had graduated from International Bible College, and every year the school did a campaign, and so Edmund worked with the school to get a campaign to come to Paragould, Arkansas, and knock doors. And my mom and Edmund conspired against my dad, and what they decided to do was have a student stay with us at our house. Of course, my dad was mad about that. You gotta go, hide beer and cigarettes, and
It was another mouth to feed.
Yeah. Well, so like the first night, Dad is mad about it. The second night, he goes to church, and the third night, he responds, and the fourth night, he decides he's going to be a preacher. And by the fifth day, he's out knocking doors with, taking time off work, going to knock doors. And within just a few months, man, we packed it up. We moved to Florence. I don't know. My dad graduated school here in 1984, and then we moved to Thomasville. Started church in Thomasville, moved to Illinois. Then I met my wife in Illinois, and I think, in some kind of crazy irony, how history repeats itself. Everybody wants their kid, so-and-so's son's plumbing, or, so-and-so's son's painting. I don't know why my dad, he wanted me to be a preacher, and he tricked me. 100%. My dad tricked me. He said if I would do something in ministry, he'd buy me a Porsche. And so I still haven't got that Porsche. Yeah. But I think I'll come out better on the other side without it. But through those, through just, and this is the way the gospel works. It's this random, crazy happenstance that you kind of look back and you think, maybe it ain't a random, crazy happenstance. God made. And so Edmund, having graduated here and going off and doing the thing that we do, created at least, actually I know of multiple other guys that Edmund had tremendous influence over in his life that went on to do something in ministry. I can think of several guys that he had come here. But through those series of events, we came here. My dad started working in church, and I grew up and if your dad's a plumber, you kind of know how to plumb. If your dad's a sheetrocker, you kind of know how to sheetrock, and you may not want to be a sheetrocker. But at some point in your life, I think it works out to be that way. And, in some ways, I guess I wish my dad had been a financial guru. Yeah. Maybe I'd have figured out how to play the markets. But what I saw my dad do was ministry. That's good. So, I wanted to, my wife and I, we ended up coming here to do ministry. And I hope that in some way I'm kind of doing that Edmund Cagle thing where I'm bringing a few, along and hopefully with the school. That's exactly what we do here is we want the church to be better and we want it to grow.
That's good. Well, Travis, let me ask you this question, man. You've been on campus for many, many years. You've witnessed a lot of people come in. You've witnessed a lot of people taking classes, a lot of people that have actually gone on into ministry. But the question that I have for you today is, what makes campus class so special?
Well, I think it is that influence. We do. A large portion of what we do right now is through distance learning. And you absolutely, not only do we believe it, not only do I think that we proved it, our accrediting body, we were the very first people to do distance learning with the accrediting body, the national accrediting body that we have. Although we were kind of proof of concept that you can absolutely get a good education through distance learning. We've done scientific studies now that prove that you absolutely can get a good education through distance learning. However, when you come to campus, I think you get some things, you get some intangibles that you don't necessarily, and I think that it really is that influence. You can watch church online. I think you can learn something if you watch that. You can learn something from that lesson if you watch that church online. But I think that when you're there, and after church is over, the older I get, the more and more I've become convinced that church, I don't know why we do the 5 acts of worship, how we leave out fellowship. Right. I think we need to rethink these whole 5 acts of worship. But as I read Acts chapter 2, man, boy, it sure does look like fellowship. It's crazy important. And if that's true in the church, it's true in the brotherhood, it's true in the school and the education. The more that we're around each other, and when you sit in that cafeteria, you sit down shoulder to shoulder with Dr. Brothers, you sit down with Dwayne Tapscott, you sit down with, it doesn't matter if it's, Caleb Baker, or if you're sitting there with Rebecca, or if you're sitting there with Ed Gallagher, you're having those conversations. You allow yourself, you can be resistant. You can turn off the receptors, but I think you allow yourself to be influenced by those people in those times outside that classroom. That's just invaluable.
I said on the last episode that I didn't want to talk about controversial topics, and here comes Travis. He's getting on that controversial train. I don't think it's controversial. I think it's definitely proven by Scripture.
Well, we fellowship, David.
Yeah.
When it comes down, we fellowship. We believe in it.
But I'll tell you, I hate to get too far afield, and I don't think it is, but you look back in your life and you tell me when you feel spiritual. And like you tell me, and I was telling one of my dear friends this the other day, we were talking about this exact same thing. I remember several years ago, now it was probably 10 years ago, but went to church that morning, sat through Sunday school class, sat through a boring sermon. I had to go preach that afternoon. I went and preached probably a boring lesson. And then I went back to church Sunday night. But then something weird happened. We had youth devotional at our house. And so we had all the youth come over to our house. It was just really special. It was dear friends. I don't know. They all came over. And this was out when I was at Pleasant Valley. I don't know. We had a big group come over the house. Everybody just ate. And then it wasn't, but it almost felt spontaneous. We had a couple of visitors there, and it almost felt spontaneous. Somebody's like, hey, let's sing some songs. We all sat in the living room. We start singing. I say, hey, so-and-so lead a prayer. And we had arranged somebody that had a devotional. And so they just started, they just opened the Bible, start talking about scripture, kick it back and forth. There was a little bit of interaction. After a little while, we concluded the discussion. We had a prayer. And after everybody left, like my head was just swimming. Like I was dizzy. I was just like, I've been church more than any human being on the face of the planet today. I got up and I was church from, dusk to dawn. But I didn't feel church until that devotion. Like I don't know what it was, but I went through all this other stuff. But it was being with those people and that thing. That's when I felt spiritual. Why is it that way? God doesn't tell us to come. He doesn't say that we need to come together to worship. You look at, the passage that we always go to talk about worship and not forsaking the assembly of yourselves together as a manner of some is, blah, 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 blah. God doesn't need us to come together to worship for his part. Mm-hmm. We don't all have to be in one place to worship for his part. He wants us to come together to worship for our benefit. Yeah. And I'm going to say that that's the same thing with the school too. There's something different when you have the humility to open yourself up to be mentored and you put yourself in the place where you can really learn from other people and you can open yourself up to, not when you come arrogant thinking you got all the answers, but when you can come and you can say, hey, Coach Tab, hey, Dwayne, man, I'm teaching this on Sunday. What is this? I got this funeral I got to do. What about this? And when you open yourself up to that, man, that's a different world that I don't think you necessarily get through other forms of education.
Well, I think, that was my experience too as a student. Like, once you get to that point where you just swallow your pride and you think, like, I know absolutely nothing. And you open yourself up to, taking in, these hard things to swallow and bouncing ideas off of all these other people that are around you like that. There's just something special about that. You don't get that, just anywhere.
Right. I know I was talking with a guy the other day, and it's so ironic you were talking about a funeral. He really doesn't have the camaraderie that we have, I guess, being at a Bible college. Mm-hmm. And that was the first thing he called me. He says, hey, man, I have this young man that passed away. Could you give me some information as to how to do this funeral? And I wanted to say, you're older than me. Mm-hmm. But then just some things that came out, and he says, I really needed that. Mm-hmm. And that's what you have here on campus. You have a lot of guys you can rub shoulders with and pick their brains.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, I don't know that the student body necessarily sees it, but the staff and the administration, the faculty, we do it all the time. Man, I had a situation. It is funny what is going on outside, my work life, but I do ministry also. I work with church also. Got the call the other day. I got this 85-year-old member. Who her husband drives her to church, and then he turns around and he leaves, and then he comes back and he picks her up. Then the next service he'll drive her to church and drop her and she takes care of her great grandchild. She's raising her great grandkid, so he'll drive her to church, drop her off, drops her great grandchild off. He'll leave, go home, come back. She comes home the other day, he shot himself in the head. And so as soon as I hear, I'm like, why did I do that funeral? Yeah. I call my buddy. I call my man. I call one of the guys that I consider a mentor. I'm like, hey, here's what's happening to me right now. Like, what I got? What am I looking at? How's this work? So having those type of relationships, and you build those type of relationships, and I know there are guys out there. There are guys out there that call me that went to school here 10 years ago. There are guys out here that call Bill Bajents that went to school here 20 years ago, and say, "Hey, I got this happening." Building those relationships is one of the things I think is really special.
That's cool.
I agree. I think that is. I was going to ask that, for y'all, because you're all alumni, but for Dwayne and y'all have that longevity here, contacts that you still have. Like those are still solid friendships and solid relationships. People you can depend on. You have that. Not that you're just Christians, but that you're ministers and you've gone through the same type of training, and you know them because you went to school with them. And it bonds you in a different way when you learn together and you work together. And, it's just that it's a really cool experience. And I always tell people that's one of the things when we go out and we're recruiting, it's a different thing being on campus.
Yeah. I really wish when our students come to us, I really wish that they would kind of put on the learner hat and open yourself up to learning and being changed and mentored and trying to make yourself flexible. But one of the beautiful things I think is that our staff and faculty, once you move into that next area, like I've watched our faculty kind of do it. Like once you get that degree, like you're a peer. Yeah. You're a peer now, and you've developed that relationship and you've developed that friendship. And the staff and faculty, they have a tremendous amount. They know what it is, and they have a tremendous amount of respect for the work that you put in and for the effort that it's work. It's work. And so they know it's work, and they have a respect for that. And then all of a sudden, those guys look at you, and it's kind of special too when one of them calls you and says, "Hey, what do you think about this?"
I still haven't had that happen yet.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on that day.
It does happen to me. It happened to me last week. Ed Gallagher,
No.
Dr. Gallagher called me and asked me how to wire his stove. That's true. That's true. It wasn't. Yeah, he doesn't.
So what scripture verse you pointing to?
It's so cool.
That's something that's fun too, though, because like Ed's the kind of guy who's going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're brilliant. Ed is absolutely brilliant, but he also has a sweet humility about him. You just act with your heart and with your attitude as an on-campus student. You access his heart and his humility, and it's special. It's special.
I appreciate that. I like your perspective in it. I think it speaks volumes because you've been the student and you've been your faculty, your staff. You speak from all the areas. We'll get to a little bit more different angle. I'd say let's talk about the campus, like the physical campus. What do we look like?
Well, originally we were built as a commuter school. I think originally the way that we do classes, we were designed so that a person could actually be out doing ministry and then go to school in addition to having that background. I think it creates so much freedom for students now. So you have the ability, if you want to take 6 hours, you can clump those in one day, so you got 6 other days. And so, we got students who drive down. We got students who drive down and stay here 2 days. They get all their classes and they go home. We got students who live here on campus. I'm not sure that philosophically is the best thing, but we do everything. And so, whatever position you're in where you say, "Hey, I want to come and live there," we got you. We got a beautiful dorm. We got 36 bedrooms over there that they are absolutely beautiful dorm. We have a beautiful dorm. And so we got housing. If you want to live here, if you say, "Hey, I want to live here a couple of nights a week and then I want to drive home for the weekend," we got that handled. If you say, "Hey, I want to drive in and take class." I live in Nashville. I live in Memphis. I'm gonna drive in and take a couple classes. I'm gonna drive home that day. We can handle you. Or if you say, "Hey, I'm in Kalamazoo or Kathmandu, man, we can Zoom you over, and we can do distance learning for you, so we can meet each one of those needs. We have as far as campus goes, I mean, it kind of surprises me every time I think about it. And of course, by design, I was going to say by chance, but really it was an opportunity, another God thing probably, but I was able to buy my personal house that adjoins the campus. And a lot of times I'm in the back of the campus and I think how beautiful it is. The school, we got 57 acres here in Florence, Alabama. Florence is, the older I get, the more I realize like this, I've been all over the world, literally. I mean, I have been all over. I've done a lot of traveling, and I don't know that I've found too many places I've never found a place that's as good as Florence, Alabama. The history, the Civil War stuff in Florence, like Florence was taken like 40 times back and forth with and it's comical. The history with UNA, got the line downtown if you want to go for a walk. Downtown, First Fridays, the revitalization they've done downtown. I was talking to one of the guys the other day that he and I do mission work together, and we've traveled all over the world together. We were talking about, hey, what's the best meal you've ever eaten? And I was thinking, I was in Cusco and I ate ceviche on the Plaza de Armas, and that's when, but then you know what? To be honest with you, like chicken fettuccine from Ricatoni's downtown Florence it's one of the top meals I've ever eaten. So Florence has become a foodie little town. It's a river. We got the river. If you like hunting, the music industry in Florence, the hit recording capital of the world. I mean, if you want everything, everything from Ella James to Aerosmith. The Rolling Stones recorded. When you think of Leonard Skinner, every song is right down there.
Well, funny story about that. I went on a cruise at the beginning of March, and the drummer from the band that was on the boat, he came up and talked to us one night after or in between the show in intermission, and he asked me, he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Well, I'm from Alabama." He said, "Sweet home, right?" I said, "Yeah, actually, you don't know how sweet home it is. Right? We're literally right up the road from where that was recorded."
Well, crazy. Like I was telling somebody else this today too. Like we get more rain here than it really does. Like it's not more days of rain, but we get more average rainfall in this little circle in the country. And therefore, we have lakes and rivers and streams everywhere. If you want world-class fishing, it's right here. Florence has a couple world-class canoe/kayak runs, but I was blown away to find out that Alabama is one of the world-class kayaking destinations.
It really is.
If you like whitewater, you wouldn't think, hey, Florence, Alabama, whitewater. World-class off-road. There are 2 or 3 things in here that we got world-class off-road stuff if you like Jeeps or Razors or bikes or whatever it is. And so, we live in this little community here that is really neat. And then the microcosm within the microcosm, the church is just so incredibly strong in this area. I'd always heard, and I think if you look in the book, the Church of Christ in the United States, they used to break it down by county, and there was a time where per capita we had more members of Church of Christ in Lauderdale County than anywhere in the world. So the strength of spirituality around here, the physical beauty around here, the opportunities in Florence, and then again the microcosm within the microcosm on the campus. We have the facilities that we need. We had a beautiful little campus situated in Florence, Alabama, with opportunity. If you want opportunity for recreation, if you want opportunity for spiritual growth among the church, or if you want opportunity for intellectual and spiritual growth.
We talked about how special of a place Florence is. We talked about how special of a place Heritage is, and I think we all unanimously agree that this is a very special place.
It is.
So, I guess the last question we've got for you today is, how would someone know if they're fit for us?
Well, really what if you want to make a difference in the world, if you want to positively affect change in the world, I mean, I think that you're on the right track. Jim Collins, when I came here, he always said he recruited me. I called him and said, I'm coming.
I'm about to say, mine's the same way. I think he convinced me that he recruited me. So, yeah.
That's fun.
So I give him the credit.
Okay, yeah. He worked your No, he didn't.
Well, I mean, obviously, I knew about the school maybe before he did, but so I mean, like you say, I was a child of a student here. I was a student here. I was a grad student here, employee here. So, but when Jim, he used to have a saying where he would say, "If you can do anything else and be happy, do that." And really, it's kind of one of those tricky, gimmicky, fun things to say or think, but really, it's supposed to cause this little mental train wreck in you that you try to figure out that puzzle. And if you can be happy being a welder because you don't have that fire in you that makes you want to do ministry, man, you might want to stay. Welding's a good noble. If you're a farmer, that's a great noble profession, man. There's nothing, you can go to heaven, man. There's nothing wrong with that. But there are people out there who, they are burdened with the responsibility that they feel that's been placed upon them to answer that call. I think if you are one of those people who what you really want to do is you want to be a blessing to the church and you really want to care about the church, then you could be a good fit. I used to there's when I became a recruiter, I developed my own little lines like that, and I would tell these guys that people who you want to do ministerial counseling, guys and gals, you want to do mission work, you want to be a Bible class teacher, you want to work in Christian education, whatever the deal is, you want to affect that change, then this might be the place for you, and this might be the fit for you. If yeah. One my little thing as a recruiter, I would say, is most of those guys, you're going to go to church. You're going to go to church, and so, and if you go to church, they're going to ask you to do Bible class, and if you go to church, they're going to ask you to do this, and if you're going to go to church, you're probably going to have to preach every once in a while. And so, if that's who you are, then what if you just did that full time? Mm-hmm. What if you just didn't have to have the job on the other side, or if you want a good job, let me tell you, the best job in America would be a consultant. Somebody just pays you to hear what you think about things, and they just pay you to give them advice, and they just pay you to be there and help walk them through problems. There's another word that we use in the church. We call that guy preacher or minister. Yeah. Ain't a bad job. And right now we're in a situation right now where you absolutely can make a good living. Not only can you change the world, not only can you satisfy that hunger within yourself to do good and minister to other people, but you can also provide a good living for your family.
Okay. Absolutely.
You said something there that was slightly controversial that I would like to point out. You talked about, it being a call. I think you're absolutely right in saying that. And I think we're scared sometimes to talk about it in those terms that, this truly is a calling. It truly is a calling. And, to that responsibility that you're talking about that people like us feel to take on, I don't think there's a calling, a greater calling. Yes. And, if you're listening to this and, you're feeling that pull, you're feeling that burden, you're feeling that call, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Answer it.
Well, it is funny that we shy away from that terminology, but only in theological circles. I used to be a full-time certified law enforcement officer too. Almost without exception, almost every police officer I ever worked with, they felt a call to be a police officer. And then, all those first responders, those guys, it's not like they just woke up and be like, I think I'm going to be a fireman. I think I'm going to drive an ambulance and work as an EMT. There's something inside some people that call them to service that just like, that hurts them if they don't do the thing. It is that passion, and that, you know, that word carries with the idea of punishment. Like it hurts if you don't. And I think almost everybody I worked with very few exceptions on the police department, like there was a, you know, for whatever it was, like there was a passion to answer that call to be a police officer. There's a passion to answer that call to be an EMT. And if you know EMTs or you know volunteer firemen, and those volunteer firemen, like there's a passion for that service. So we use that terminology. We can use that terminology for them, and nobody is going to raise an eyebrow at you. And I don't even know when I say it. I don't even know what it means. I don't know how you interpret it, but I do know that I think there are those of us who are called to ministry, and there's pain within you if you don't answer that call, because you want to serve.
There's emptiness.
Yeah.
I know we have a lot of men who have retired from jobs, and they are now in our graduate program because they've never been fulfilled in their job. I've been told that on numerous occasions.
Yeah.
Because they have always had that burning inside of them, and they did the thing that supported their family. But they're now at the point in their time in their life, they're like, I can do this now, and I want to do that. And I feel like, what is that? What is that little feeling, that not the little feeling, the feeling that never goes away? You're a grown person. You know, you've lived through a career, you've raised your kids, and you say, I still want to do this thing. And that's, what else is that?
I say, and like Travis said, you know, we're living in one of the most interesting time periods ever. I mean, maybe not ever, but, you know, you truly can support your family as a minister now, you know, and you don't have to worry about it. I think that people are seeing a need to take care of the minister now.
Yeah. I'm actually a little concerned that we're going to swing to the point that like it's becoming supply and demand. The way that we work in the United States, it's becoming a very lucrative position. I mean, it's actually the guy. If you're you know sane, my standard joke there. If you're sane, with a decent family, if you are capable of walking the moral walk and not being, you know, not falling into that moral failure, you feel that call to ministry that you can make a really good living. And I'd be willing to put up, you know, a guy who graduates from here with a bachelor's degree in Bible. You give me a 35-year-old guy with a bachelor's degree in Bible, I think he's going to make more than a 35-year-old guy who's got a degree in X from, you know, a standard degree. I think he's going to make a really good living.
And he's going to meet that desire inside his heart that's burning, and that's going to fulfill him, and it's going to make him happy. In the end, I think something that just sitting here listening to you guys and hearing you describe the school, what it means to you, and also that ministers, the heart of a minister, I think, and then describing our school and the things that surround us. I think the thing that makes us different is that we're designed for the minister, to prepare that minister. We're not just enclosed on this campus. We have our tentacles go out to this community. You know, there's things to do. There's things to be involved in. There's opportunities. You're not held captive on a campus for your life. You go out into the community. You're almost forced into that. And it's a good thing. That is practical experience, and helps you flex your heart muscles or whatever that is, or help people move, whatever it is that we do for ministry. I think that's what makes our campus different.
It's almost like we've developed a heritage.
You would think. Sounds pretty nice, doesn't it? Love it. Well, Travis, you have been a great guest. We appreciate you coming and talking with us and spending time with us. And we always appreciate your words of wisdom for us. And so we're glad we were able to share that with those people out there that can, maybe learn if they're on the bubble about ministry. Maybe this will help them. And if they were wondering exactly who we are, I think they got a good picture of who we are.
Yeah.
Through today's podcast.
been awesome, my man.
Yep.
Hey, guys, if you like this podcast, please like it and share it. Any questions you have, feel free to give us a call.
Yep.
Well, appreciate you guys having me, and appreciate what you do here. On y'all are the facilitators, and if you close your eyes at night, if you close your eyes at night and you say, "Is anybody there?" I think in our heart we know somebody's listening.
Yeah.
I think even everybody knows somebody's listening. But if you're one of those people that when you close your eyes at night, you feel the call.
Yeah.
These are the guys that you're going to get on the other end of the line when you send that message, when you get that call. And I know what their dream is. What they want to do is they want to facilitate that growth in the church.
Next month will actually be 29 years in the ministry. I'm glad I accepted the call.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder what my life have been like if I would have ran from the call. I would have missed a lot of Christians, a lot of great activity, a lot of restorations and baptisms. So a lot of just explaining God's word. So man, the call is powerful, and it can take you places where you never thought you'd ever go.
Very good point.
I wouldn't be satisfied doing anything else.
Right.
There's plenty of things that I could do,
Yeah.
but nothing like this.
I think the hardest part about ministry to me is like you don't see the immediate result.
Mm-hmm.
If you work in a tool and die shop, you make that spindle. Oh, hey, here's a spindle. You put it in the bin. You go get another one. You make another one. At the end of the day, you got a whole bin full. That's rewarding. I mean, if I used to roof. When I finished the roof, I glued the roof. I did that roof. I used to farm. Hey, when I finished the field, I glued the field. I did that field. Those things are very satisfying. The hardest thing about ministry is you don't see those results. Like you've been in ministry for 29 years. I think I've been in ministry for about right at 30 years. And so, but you don't see those immediate results. Mm-hmm. That's also the greatest thing about ministry is, I don't know, like I can't wait. I can't wait to get to heaven. And I hope there's a big bulletin board that says, here are the lives that Dwayne changed. And here's all the good. God absolutely knows all the good work that you've done in those 29 years of ministry. I don't know. And whatever, I don't know. I hope there's 29 or whatever it is, 30 more, 39 more, however many more years of ministry it is. But in that totality, you're not going to see the good work that you did. But God knows that good work that you did. And I hope someday we get a glimpse into that and to see, like, what is that totality look like? So that's one of the things I think that is the toughest about ministry, but also it's really, really, really rewarding and hopeful. And again, if you're listening to this, you can be part of that team. That it's not work that necessarily you look back and you say, hey,
well, for us as ministers, we never know. Like you said, you never know the reward. Well, I guess who you've affected along the way. We'll be 50 years from now. Somebody will run across your tape. And they'll listen to your tape and they'll give their life to the Lord. So where else can you do that?
Or your tape. I think at some point, the guy the man or woman who is listening to this now, you're obviously listening to this at a later date than what we recorded it. You hear this and it sparks some motivation in you to make a change, to do something.
We are definitely here to take the call, and if you get the call, you need to call us. We're ready. We're ready to help you.
Your internal phone is ringing. Answer it. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and we'll wrap this episode up. We'll see y'all next time. Travis, thank you again for sitting in with us, and give us a follow, a share, a like. Whatever you can give us in podcast land.
And anytime you're in the area, man, stop by and share some more wisdom with us.
That's right.
We'd love to have you.
That's right.
Hey, guys. See y'all. Peace.
Thanks for joining us for this week's podcast. For more information, go to hcu.edu and remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe.